Jacques Demy's Lola, his underrated directorial debut, portrays a variety of characters who, through coincidences and chance encounters, some of which manage to complicate situations. Writing for the New York Times in 2001, Terence Rafferty states that all these people are to some degree reflections of Lola, or her vanished lover, and part of the pleasure of the movie lies in watching Demy choreograph this intricate play of mirror images as the characters flicker past one another, sometimes recognizing themselves fleetingly, but more often not. For these enchanted dreamers though, self-awareness isn't really necessary, since their destiny is pretty much out of their control, and as it happens, a benign hand, Demy's, is shaping it. The film takes place over the course of a few days, focusing on Roland, a young man who struggles to keep down a job with his head's in the clouds, a cabaret dancer called Cecile, or more frequently known by a stage name Lola, and a young teenage girl also called Cecile. Roland, after being let go from his job, enters a cinema while a group of American sailors walk past towards the cabaret bar to dance with young girls. One of the American sailors, called Frankie, is infatuated by Lola after a one-night stand together, and although Lola is initially reluctant to spend time with him, she's also flattered, later revealing that she believes Frankie looks very similar to the man she fell in love with long ago. Another part of town, the younger Cecile visits a bookshop with her mother in search of a dictionary for her studies, only to be met by frequent customer Roland, who offers to lend them the dictionary. Already this establishes Demy's effortless ability to deliver a narrative through chance encounters. From one protagonist we are led to another, and in a at first seemingly irrelevant moment in a bookshop, an earlier protagonist is brought back, establishing a connection with a new protagonist. Roland agrees to drop the dictionary off to Cecile and her mother's home, as well as accepting an invitation to a dinner. He reminisces briefly about another girl named Cecile he was friends with, but during the war, he lost contact with her. By a coincidence, Roland later meets his childhood friend Cecile, also known as Lola, walking through the shopping centre with her son. They organise a date to spend more time together. Cecile, or Lola's American sailor, Frankie, is planning to leave town in a few days, and similarly, Roland has a similar plan as he accepts a dodgy work offer where he must leave town and travel to another country to deliver a suitcase. Terence Rafferty's suggestion of mirror images is reinforced here, as although Roland and Frankie never quite meet, they have similar plans of leaving town. Continuing the younger Cecile's narrative strand, we follow her to a newsagent's where she plans to purchase a comic book. However, someone else has already bought the last issue, an American sailor, Frankie. Initially she is frustrated, but when Frankie offers her the comic book, she accepts, and they walk together talking about the stories within the book, expressing a mutual fondness for these stories. This chance encounter now connects the younger Cecile indirectly to the other Cecile, known as Lola, through their mutual connection of Frankie, the American sailor. Although at this point in the film, this may not seem particularly significant, a mirror image of both Ceciles begins to form later, while on a date with Roland. Lola admits that she fell in love with a sailor as a teenager during time spent at a fairground, and never quite overcame her first love. She became pregnant and was left by the sailor. However, she isn't filled with resentment, but appreciates she was able to become a good mother. This experience is reflected when the younger Cecile, on her birthday, is met after school by Frankie as they visit the local fairground. The experience is portrayed with no dialogue but music, and even slow-motion cinematography. The film is telling us that this younger Cecile has now fallen in love with a sailor like the Cecile before her had. Even though both Ceciles are never to meet, they are sharing this experience through an unusual coincidence of also sharing a mutual contact through Frankie. As Terence Rafferty said before, these characters don't need to be self-aware regarding these connections. It's out of their control. The younger Cecile was bound to fall in love eventually. The film film suggests that a person's first love is strongest, and this certainly applies to Lola, Roland, and Cecile. Roland is infatuated with Lola, his childhood love, to the extent where once she expresses that she doesn't share Roland's feelings, he is frustrated and unable to accept it. This experience of Roland's follows a sequence where Roland catches Lola in the distance with Frankie and assumes the worst of Lola. Roland believes that Lola must spend time intimately with every man but him. Lola still has feelings for the sailor who left her behind, and the young Cecile has now established feelings for Frankie. Cecile's mother is unhappy and concerned regarding Cecile's connection with the American, but Cecile is defensive regarding it. Of course, her mother is protective and, without the awareness of who Lola is not wanting her Cecile to have a similar fate to that of Lola's, pregnant at a young age and left alone. This theme of first love is also reinforced through Cecile's mother, who during the dinner that Roland has been invited to, she expresses a longing despair for her first love. The way these characters are intertwining regarding first love, similar experiences, and fates illustrates a mastery of control from Jacques Demy over his film. Each character is different, yet despite not realizing it, they're also quite similar. Roland apologizes for his hurtful outburst towards Lola, which Lola accepts graciously, while also admitting that although she had spent time with the American sailor, she doesn't spend time intimately with other men and hasn't felt inclined to do so since her first love. The first love of Lola's throughout the film has been portrayed as a man in an expensive car driving around the town, even looking for hints as to where to find his Cecile. This narrative strand has been illustrated through small, self-contained sequences that seem unconnected at first from the other characters until the very end when he reintroduces himself to his Cecile, expressing apologetically that he wished he could have returned sooner. This could possibly be the largest coincidence of the film. He left in an attempt to find financial sustainability for himself and her, yet Lola accepts him with open arms and is glad that her first love has finally returned and who intends to take her and their son away out of town. As the film concludes, we see Lola joyously sat in the car with her first love driving until she, by chance, spots Roland walking with the suitcase, intending to leave town for a dodgy opportunity for money. Both characters are going to be leaving town. Whether they return or not, we'll never know. This further reinforces the idea that the film creates mirror images of its characters, comparing and contrasting them. Lola's fate seems more optimistic, however Roland's does not. Roland didn't reconnect miraculously, almost unrealistically, with his first love like Lola did. In conclusion, Jacques Demy's film illustrates a masterful ability to create a non-linear narrative with multiple protagonists that share and reflect the experiences of other protagonists, while also sharing mutual acquaintances and ideas directly or indirectly. The impact of this makes the film's depiction of a close-knit town authentic. The lives of multiple people interweaving together whether they realize it or not also feels very believable. Even the detail of both Cecile's sharing a name illustrates how their experiences come to reflect each other through reflections, chance encounters, and coincidences. This modest French New Wave classic expresses incredible complexity for its narrative and characters.